Stormy has taught us a great deal thus far. We've learned about asynchronous requests and how to make them over the network in parallel with the main UI thread. We're connecting to the dark sky servers and getting usable weather data back. Thus far, I've clouded over the data format of JSON a few times in this course. Guess what? Now's the time to explore this data format. We need to look at the actual data that Dark Sky is sending our app and see how it can be displayed on the screen. Recall from our previous project the design pattern called Model View Controller, or MVC. This is a great opportunity for us to cover these principles again. We'll take a look at the view in an upcoming stage, so let's not worry about that just yet. To begin then, let's create some model objects to store the data from Dark Sky that we want to display. I've put a couple of links to videos as resources if you'd like to review the MVC pattern further. Briefly, the idea is this. The Model View Controller MVC design pattern allows us to separate parts of our software into components that allow for reuse and better organization. I find that ordering at a restaurant is a good example. You have a waiter who controls what is being ordered, a chef in the background who uses the data and objects of the recipe, the model, to make the order, and the food itself is what is viewed. The chef can only model objects that she has access to, tortillas, rice, beans, salsa, etc. The waiter controls what food can be ordered. If it isn't on the menu, they control that. Finally, you, as the customer, gets to view the arrangement of the data objects. Clearly, in Android apps, we don't have chefs and waiters running around inside our devices. Android apps implement the MVC pattern with the view being the layout on the screen the user sees. The controller is the activity that presents views and responds to user input. The activity also interacts with the data model, and that data model is typically a set of classes that represent our data. Let's take a look at the Dark Sky developers page and the response format. This provides some good detail about the different data points being returned. What's also helpful is to see the raw data that Stormy gets. If we go back to our developers console page, here we see a sample API call we can make with the coordinates of Alcatraz Island, California. If we click on this link, we are provided with our raw JSON data. Nice, but not super helpful, as right now it is somewhat challenging to read. JSON data can be formatted in a very readable fashion. There are a few ways to do so. You can copy and paste this into an online JSON formatter, or you can install a browser extension. I'm using the Chrome browser, but adding extensions to other browsers should be fairly similar. If we look at the Chrome Web Store, let's search for JSON here. There are many choices here. I personally like this JSON viewer one. We'll add it. Now if we refresh our page, much easier to read. We can now easily expand and contract sections and explore the data. For our Stormy app, we're really only interested in this currently section here. This particular section of the JSON data has all of the information we'll need for our app. We'll look at this more closely in a moment, but let's look at our mockups and think about our data as it relates to our view. In looking at the mockup, we see that we're going to be reporting a location, an icon, a brief summary, along with the time, temperature, humidity, and chance of precipitation. This should be enough to keep us from feeling washed away with tasks for this version of Stormy. We'll use this mockup as our guide when we come back and create some Java objects in the model portion of our MVC pattern.